Hello, everyone. We are here for Millennials and Politics discussion. I'm Kristen Graves. I'm the social media coordinator at Black Enterprise, and I'll let the panelists introduce themselves. Selena?
Hi, I'm Selena Hill. I'm the associate digital editor here at Black Enterprise.
Hi, I'm Van Crawford, and I'm the marketing manager for the Shadow League.
Hi, I'm Jordan Willard, and I'm the copy editor for Black Enterprise.
Okay, so we're going to get right into it. Please let us know if you need us to raise our voices or whatever. But first question, Pew Research Center surveys show that half of millennials now describe themselves as political independents. So why do you guys believe millennials are rejecting the dominating parties of our two-party system, claiming to be neither Democratic or Republican? And I'll start with Van.
Great. So I believe that most, millennials, it's hard to make just such a wide generalization, but, on average, I'll say, millennials kind of have like a rebellion thing about us. So anything that, seems orthodox or conventional, we kind of won't be the most receptive to it. So since the two-party system has been in place for so long, of course, we rather kind of explore the fields outside of that. And then if you look at the multi-party, the third parties that are there now, what are they advocating for? Student debts, job wages, things that millennials care about. So it's a lot easier for a millennial to kind of naturally gear towards, the third parties in the system, naturally. But you kind of have to look at all the parties, to make a, well-informed decision.
Okay. Guys, Selena?
I think that, like Vin said, the two-party system is almost restrictive in a way. It confines us, and I actually think it's broken. I think that we should have more than just two main candidates to vote for that will lead us for the next 4 years. I think that we need to definitely expand more and back the other political parties that, each year try to make a way, but somehow they don't manage to break through those barriers. And then I also think that another reason why a lot of millennials are gearing towards independence is because I think because the two parties are so polarizing and you hear a lot of, rhetoric and talk that's pretty, almost malicious-like, especially from, Donald Trump and the Republicans this cycle, I think that it turns them off. And they're just I don't want to hear people yell at each other or insult each other or, make different, preposterous claims. I want to hear real policy. And maybe that's why they rather, instead of aligning themselves in one of the two parties, they rather explore their options.
Not only that, but we've all grown up with either a Democratic president or a Republican president. And while there have been great things from those administrations, there have also been a lot of things that have not worked. And it seems like when the next president steps up to come in, they say, we're going to fix what's not working. And then it creates this vacuum of more problems. I feel like we're just getting more broken parts, not anything really kind of figured out. And so I think we're just kind of curious about what the other candidates are offering. And just to kind of spin off of what Fawn said about the whole rebellion aspect, I think that's just an inherent part of being a youth culture in America. There's always been rebellion in that extent, but I don't know if it's rebellion for the sake of rebellion or rebellion because we're just sick of seeing stuff not being effective and we want actual change. So that's just my yes.
Okay, and also did we have a user question?
Yes, can you guys speak about the importance of getting out and voting?
We are actually going to get to that. That is one of our questions later on. So I am going to go to number 2. So I'm going to start off with you. How do you as a millennial define conservatism and liberalism? What values do these ideologies possess?
Well, there's the basic definitions of Democratic and Republican. And Republicans primarily think of or work with, I guess, small government, less regulated government, federal practices, I guess, implemented on how business is conducted. And Democrats, I think, lean more towards a more equal distribution of wealth. That involves raising the taxes on the rich, but I mean, it's what kind of creates a sort of balance, or at least that's their argument for creating a balance in the economy. And then there's the whole social aspect of it. Conservatives are more likely to be looped in with pro-life stance on women's rights and anti-gay and lesbian. Well, I shouldn't say that. It's more of the sanctity of marriage between a man and a woman. And I don't know. I think it's more of a kind of outdated perspective of what Americanism should be and American values, but it's marketed as traditionalism. And Democrats are just generally more progressive across the board. They generally want to see equal rights for everyone, women, gay, lesbians, bisexual, LGBTQ community. Sorry, I'm trying to, I don't know. And, you know, black people and minorities, we should have equal rights. Our grandparents have been fighting for civil rights since God knows how long. We thought the road would be over after the Civil War. It wasn't. We thought the war would be over after the Civil Rights Movement. It wasn't. We're still pushing, and it's time that some real change happened.
All right, do you guys have anything to add on to this? Go ahead.
I would just add on that conservatism to me is more like, it's like philosophy, like Jordan was saying, and they definitely believe in limited government, faith, focusing on the economy, things of that nature. But I also think that, like, it's almost like fundamentally flawed in the fact that they do not believe in progression. Like, they value traditional values so much that they don't really have enough, I don't think they give themselves enough room to explore and to expand, whereas liberalism is all about equality and freedom. And I think that as we've aged, like as we progress as a nation, we see that equality not only means black and white, but it does mean, your sexual orientation or, how you choose to identify. So, like, I think liberalism just gives us more opportunity to be inclusive, whereas conservatism is sort of like almost antiquated and in the past.
All right, so there's another question by somebody.
Okay, as millennials, do you all feel included or excluded in the election?
As millennials or millennial minor? Is there just millennials?
Just
in general?
millennials. You can make it more specific.
Do we feel included, I guess, within, what, in what sense? I feel like, I was talking to my mother about how, this campaign specifically, this election, they're trying to reach out to the millennial audience. And my biggest problem is how contrived it is. It's so forced. It's not, a seamless, outreach or something where it's like you're really, appealing to what I'm interested in, meeting me where I'm at. It's like, he's at Popeyes, let me go meet him there, and I'll bring my big bucket of butter, and hot sauce. So I'm not feeling that. So I feel included, but I don't want to feel like I'm being mocked or made fun of or disrespected. So to answer your question.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's definitely been an inclusiveness, but it borders on pandering almost. Especially when in the digital sphere, when you see all the ads and things that pop up, like, so-and-so wants you to be, isn't the coolest, but he is he cares about the issues. Like, okay, you have a flip phone, we don't judge you. That's cool. That's really not what we're looking at, guys.
Okay, so we're going to move on because we have a lot more questions. But the third question is, and I'm going to have Selena first. What do you think would encourage millennials to increase their trust in the government? We've kind of touched on this, but just...
Yeah, we definitely need to remove the influence of money in politics. I think that a lot of times people see Democrats and Republicans as one and the same because we have Citizens United, the Supreme Court case that was overturned, and now corporations can give unlimited amounts of money to political super PACs to fund their campaigns, no matter if you're a Republican or a Democrat. So when you have special interest groups and lobbyists that pretty much corrupt and run the government, it's hard for you to trust anybody. And even though I do hear a lot of my peers and people in general saying that, I'm not voting at all, or Republicans and Democrats are one and the same, it's actually not true. And the further you delve into it, the more you see the differences. But I think from an outsider's perspective and the mistrust, I do get it. I get it.
You guys want to add on?
I think what would help build trust, first, trust it's not given, it's earned. So, just kind of seeing, that, the government has our backs and different things like that, I think that would be helpful. But I want to steal Solange's album title, just a seat at the table. Essentially, that's all we want. We want to feel like our voice is being heard. We want to feel like we're not being overlooked. We're not being, like dismissed or something like that, because that is a common millennial emotion, you know, to feel overlooked and kind of just swept under the rug by, you know, our older counterparts. So, yeah.
Okay, so our next question, I just want 3 words from each of you. So what 3 issues do you care most about hearing from the presidential candidates? And I'll start with you. Just say the 3, and if we want to elaborate more after, then we will.
Stimulating or restabilizing the economy, women's rights issues, and the environment for sure.
Okay.
Improving race relations, healthcare, and gun control, definitely.
Criminal justice reform, gun control, and education reform.
Okay, and do any of you want to elaborate on any of the issues that you just talked about?
I want to say healthcare because we're getting older. I know, you know, as a younger person, you don't really like to think about that, but I just actually had my 1-year job anniversary, and things are just, we're getting older, you know, so it's time to start thinking about, you know, the future and what, you know, is going to happen later on. Not necessarily right now, but we have to think about that. So just want to put that out there.
Yeah, I would just add, the reason I say criminal justice reform, because when we see the mass incarceration of Black and brown people, when we constantly see police officers shooting unarmed Black and brown people, whether they're elderly, whether they're young, whether they, you know, they had a knife or they had absolutely no weapon at all, and then they're not indicted or they're acquitted, you know, it's just the whole system in general needs to definitely be reformed, if not replaced. So we definitely need to work on that.
Absolutely. Okay, so we are going to move on, and this is going to be about the candidates. There's a user-generated question.
Yes.
What is it, Raven?
So how do you guys think things will change under Hillary? Do you think they'll change for the better or not?
What I can say about Hillary as opposed to Trump is that Hillary, whether she can implement it or not, she has illustrated a plan. She has thought about some strategy. She has looked at history. She has been a part of history. She's seen what works and what doesn't, and at least has some idea of where she wants us to go. So, I mean, I think that there's more hope with Hillary, honestly.
Okay, so we're going to actually get to the next question because this is about the candidates specifically. And let's please don't be obvious with who you're voting for. This is from the Black Enterprise Periscope. So please try not to be completely obvious. All right, so we're going to start with Hillary. What has been Hillary's biggest strength and biggest weakness throughout the election? So we'll start with you.
Her strength would be what I said just now, that she's thought about public policy, she's thought about the economy, she's thought about all of these issues that Americans have vocalized and has come up with some sort of plan that could be practically implemented into policy. Her weakness, I would have to say, at least in the debate, though I know she was like really trying to not bring herself down to the gutter, I think there's like a little bit of arrogance to her. Like, I think she, just with the smirks and the body language, there were some subtle cues that were just like, I got this already. And, you know, that would be, I'm indifferent. But
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, if hubris always ends badly for everybody.
I would push back on that because I think that even though she does show a confidence and a strong air of confidence, when men show that and is confident and it almost comes across as arrogance, it's viewed as swagger. Like, if she has a stance like she's got this, because she did have every single debate, she won, and like someone like me, I knew she was going to win going in anyway. Like, I don't know, I just feel like it's perceived, like that body language is perceived differently between men and women.
Well, men aren't like smirking and laughing and stuff, but I mean, regardless of that, I think if a man was doing it too, it'd be hubris. I mean, Trump, when he thought he did well, and there was like, he just straight up was like, I won this. Like, there's arrogance on the male side too. I don't think it's necessarily because she's a woman that it's a problem. I think it's because it's just a little, we haven't voted. Or like not everybody has voted yet.
I mean, she gets a lot of criticism because she's a woman. Like, the reason why like people were like thinking about what is she going to be wearing and like how is she, like the thing is with Hillary Clinton, it's sometimes she's not smiling enough and we're like, oh, why is she bitter? And then other times, like, she's coming across strong and so she's a nasty woman. So I think that there's definitely different structural barriers that women have to go through that aren't necessarily, projected onto men.
Yeah,
So
I mean, I don't disagree.
Guys,
with you.
we're gonna stay with the strengths and weaknesses
Yeah.
of Hillary Clinton. You guys were going somewhere, but we're gonna stay on this question. So Van, you're next. Biggest strength and weakness of Hillary Clinton.
Great job, guys. I love it. I guess the strength, of course, is experience. She's been in the government for many, many, many years. And not only that, she was the first lady for 8 years. So she saw firsthand her husband run this country. So if she, does, become president, she'll have someone who already did it for 8 years right by her side. So, I mean, you have to definitely keep that in mind. And then her weakness is sad, but the emails, I mean, yeah, everything happened, but it alluded to just a little untrustworthy, it's just a little shaky because it's almost like, what are you hiding type, because if you think about Hillary and her campaign, she's, usually all smiles. She's a very happy or jovial, in her, how she, carries herself. But then this email scandal that's just kind of like untalked about. And even when in debates, when it's kind of brought up, a smile and a laugh. And then it kind of just like, we'll talk about it later. So it's kind of tricky with that.
I mean, I think it was untalked about because there was not much there.
Right.
So,
right. As it came out.
Yeah.
Okay, and Selena?
Really quickly, I would say her strengths are her resilience, her ability to maintain her composure, and to stay on message while she has to go through a lot of propaganda and bogus lies.
Yeah. Okay, so now...
That obvious?
Here's a question.
Yes. So you mentioned Solange's album, A Seat at the Table. How do you think artists are influencing politics and social issues?
Well, of course, most recently we've seen Beyonce and Jay-Z take to the stage with Hillary Clinton to endorse, her. And, I work in sports, so like LeBron James and, different people like that will, endorse her. Or just, other people. I know there was some talk around, some athletes and some artists, talking about their past relationships with Trump before this whole campaign and how cool they were with him and what would their stance be on him running for president. So, I mean, it's tricky because a lot of these artist fans might not be exactly in favor for who they're endorsing. So, I mean, I think they're doing a good job, but they have to run their own business at the end of the day, too, so it's hard.
Anyone else?
I think the celebrity endorsements are very helpful in terms of like encouraging youth culture to get involved and vote, because those are the people that we look up to. But I think Dave Chappelle said this, like, we really shouldn't put such a, I'm going to say it nicely, I guess, we shouldn't put such a high premium on their opinions, because we should be strong enough to have our own individual opinion. You do the research and you form your own opinion and vote based on that.
Yeah, just to add on really quickly, yeah. I know, even though I somewhat agree with that, we live in such a celebrity-driven culture. Like, when people like, Kim Kardashian have more followers than, people that are like elected officials and like people who work in a different area, I mean, it just shows you that, yeah, what celebrities do and what they think matter more than we would like them to. So I actually appreciate when like Kim takes a selfie with Hillary Clinton and Jay and Beyonce do a concert for Hillary, because I think that it shows that not only are they artists, but they're paying attention to what's going on, and therefore their fans and their followers hopefully will do the same.
I mean, and admittedly, I do kind of feel good when I realize, like, Beyonce and I agree on the same thing.
Right,
or something,
right,
yeah.
right.
Other than, like, something superficial.
Right,
Like,
that's
I want
true.
that back.
That's true.
Right.
Okay, so
true.
we are now going to talk about Trump. Oh, please remember, we cannot be obvious, Selena. So we are going to actually start with Selena. What do you think his biggest flaw is and his biggest strength during the election?
I'm going to start with strength, because that's the hardest one. No, you know what? His biggest strength was his ability to use his persona to gain popularity and support. Now, his biggest weakness has definitely been the cruel, offensive, insensitive, xenophobic, anti-immigrant, racist, anti-women, misogynistic things that he says.
Okay.
Man,
Okay.
you're next.
So, I'd say his biggest strengths are, of course, he is a businessman. So he knows, business people, it's a lot of stuff that you learn in school, but it's a lot of stuff that you won't read in the books, about business and about tactics, PR, how to work the room, how to talk to people, rubbing elbows, all that type of stuff. So he knows how to do that. He's a media mogul. He's been having all these, hit shows, and he knows how to use the media to his advantage. He knows how to play on words, and the question that you just asked and maybe make him feel stupid, now you feel stupid asking it. So he knows how to spin it. His weakness, where he's just so extreme in all of his comments, he goes to such a level that it's like, wow. Like even the GOP, when you're the party that you're representing is not necessarily for you. That speaks volumes. So he's definitely he just all his comments. He's negated so many different audiences and cultures, and it's just crazy. So I'll leave it at that, so you don't know who I'm voting for.
Okay, Jordan.
I guess I have to, as much as I loathe this quality, I sort of kind of admire that he's not afraid to be totally PC all of the time, I guess. I don't like what he says, but I like that he's not afraid of being censored, I guess. On the flip side, he's got some loose lips. He needs to think a little bit before he speaks or tweets. In the middle of the night, go to bed. Why are you awake? He's a fear monger. He's a hate monger. His rallies terrify the crap out of me. It looks a lot like a neo-Nazi rally. Just compare footage of Hitler and Trump, and it's like one is orange and one is gray. That's the difference.
All right, we are going to move on from this question. Are there any questions from the audience? Okay, guys. 6th question, second to last question. Make sure you get your questions in before this Periscope is over, but this is the next question. What is the biggest misconception about the relationship between millennials and politics? And I'm going to start with Van.
I think the biggest misconception is that we don't care. We're not aware. We're not informed. We don't know what's going on. If anything, millennials are kind of cool being nonchalant, because we like to play it cool. So, we might know, but we won't show it, It's actually, if you look at it, it's 83% of millennials that are actually registered to vote. Now, from that 83% who go to the actual, voting booths, that's a whole nother thing. But we'll register to vote, but because of, the things, again, that rebellious thing, being told we won't vote, then people won't vote. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of these millennials, they have these opinions, and they're very, very strong, and like you don't even try to fight them. I actually got in a little fight with my friends this morning because they were saying, you have a collared shirt, you go to work at your 9 to 5 and things like that. So
you go to work.
Yeah, right. I'm like, whoa, I gotta pay my bills. But I say all that to say they know what they were talking about. Although they were coming at me, they knew what they were talking about, and they had the facts. And I came back at them. Right. I hope so. But we know what we're talking about, so that's a big misconception.
Jordan?
I would say that the biggest misconception is that because we are so used to a culture that we want immediate satisfaction. We grew up with the internet, we're used to having apps and Ubers just appear right in front of us, that we're, I don't want to say lazy, but I'm going to say lazy, that we're too lazy and entitled to get off of our butts and go fight and go defend our rights and go, have a voice, or that we don't value that voice in the same way that our baby boomer parents did, who were every other day there was somebody out on the street with a sandwich sign. Just because I'm not out on the street with a sandwich sign saying who I love and I'm actually behind a computer or whatever, doesn't mean I don't care, doesn't mean I'm not doing my research, doesn't mean I don't know what's going on, and doesn't mean that I want the power to express my opinion. It's our civil duty, or civic duty, you want to say? Right. Civic duty to go vote. Yeah. So please go vote.
Right, please.
I agree with what they said. They're absolutely right. Being the misconception that we're apathetic or we don't express ourselves or we don't know what's going on. That's not true. We just express ourselves very differently. Some of my friends don't go to the marches like I do, but they'll retweet something, or they'll put up an Instagram meme, or they'll put up, they'll use the hashtag Black Lives Matter on Facebook. And I think that because we have these different outlets, it allows us to be vocal in those ways, rather than going out and being, on the front lines if they don't have time, or, things of that nature. So I think that's a misconception.
There's a question?
What do you all think could be changed in the process to make it easier to vote?
Oh my God,
Go ahead.
Voting is such a burden on so many people because, number one, it's in the middle of the work week when, people who have 2 or 3 jobs, or maybe just one job, they can't find a babysitter, they can't find transportation. It shouldn't be so hard. I think that if we really wanted to have more people vote, we should at least put it on a Saturday or a Sunday where most people don't have to work, or maybe easier for them to leave their child at a relative's house because they don't have to be in school. So we can do that. We should move the day to a Saturday or a Sunday.
Jordan?
Agree with Selena. Also, baby boomers are going to judge me for saying this, but I mean, we can get pizza by just texting an emoji through our apps. I feel like there should be a sound way to collect and count votes without us having to get up and physically go do it. Not to say that I don't want to or won't, but I just think generally speaking, it would just be easier if it could all be done digitally. And
I agree.
we would know that it
Amen.
could be accurate, and there wouldn't be so much distrust and stuff. And
So what do you think
lost
about
votes.
hacking? Online voting, there's a possibility of hacking.
Well, of course, there's vulnerability to that. I mean, I haven't thought out all of the kinks. It's just in theory, it would be a cool way if they could figure that out and then figure out to protect against
But
that.
there's kinks with the way that our voting is now. So
Yeah.
I mean, there's kinks with any way that we're going to vote.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I mean,
Remember, they had to recount the votes
Yeah.
for Bush too, and that was
Right.
what election was that? It was
2000.
2000. Yeah.
Right. It's true.
okay. So any more questions? So our last question, and make sure you get your questions in. Since this is our last question, we will be answering your questions too. What would you like the world to know about the young Black millennial experience as it relates to voting in this presidential election? And any last thoughts also. So I'll let all 3 of you go. Starting with Van.
Great. Okay, so I think one of the most pivotal moments, the jaw-dropping moments for me, was seeing President Barack Obama not only take office once, but twice. And as not only a young Black man, but as a Black man, to see that happen, it just, reinforced that I matter, my vote matters, what I do matters. If he can do it, then I can do it. It's very, very, you see me, I'm dressed up nice, but because of what, our society is telling us about Black men, it sometimes plays, I'm not gonna lie, it does play with my mind, certain times. So I think that a lot of times we think that our voice, it doesn't matter, and it's we don't have one, but we do have a voice, and it is important. Whether, I'm not gonna say whatever party you want to vote for or whatever, what I respected most even about my friend trying to argue with me today is that he had a basis. If you just have no basis for, what you're believing in, then it's hard to respect that. So I think just people, your vote matters, and respect that.
Okay, Jordan.
I agree with everything you're saying. Our votes matter. Your voice matters. It counts. There have been flaws in the system since the beginning of the establishment of the system, but the only way to push through it, to make changes for our future and for our children, is to exercise that power and vote, especially Black women. We were the marginalized of the marginalized, and our mothers and grandmothers have fought so hard to get us this right. Just vote. Just please vote. Just get up and vote. I'm sorry there's no app. I'm sorry things can get hacked now. It is what it is, but we can make changes for later if you just get up tomorrow.
Right. That's true.
Right.
That's true.
And Selena.
I would say that, young Black millennials have done a phenomenal job in pushing the issues we care about to the forefront of political discourse. When it comes to what Black Lives Matter has done for social justice and criminal justice reform, mass incarceration, the war on drugs, even, legalizing marijuana, student debt. I think that because we've made our collective voice so loud on things like social media and, going out and protesting, that has definitely pushed the candidates to talk about this too, especially in the primaries. And I would say moving forward, to all young Black millennials, if you really care about this issue and you've been paying attention, no matter who gets elected, it is up to us to hold them accountable. It does not matter if Hillary gets elected. If we aren't there to say, we need this law passed now, we need to stop locking up Black and brown youths for jumping a turnstile to get into the subway. We need to, put our money where our mouth is, and we need to continue to push for these issues. And if it's Donald Trump, it gives us even more the reason to continue to push.
The revolution's happening, guys. Let's just keep it going. Tomorrow, get up tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. polls open. Let's do this.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you everyone. Thank you guys so much. Again, I'm Kristen Graves.
I'm Jordan Willard.
I'm Van Crawford.
I'm Selena Hill.
Thank you.
Thanks.